Hi, this is Dr. Whiting, and today I want to talk about another issue that affects women, but this time women of childbearing age, and that is PMS, or premenstrual syndrome. For many women, this has never been or rarely has been an issue, and yet for hundreds of thousands of other young women, this is a monthly nightmare, with symptoms like moodiness, sweats, irritability, cramping, anxiety, nervousness, insomnia, fatigue, breast tenderness, craving for sweets, and of course the all terrible water retention or puffiness. The reason why these things happen really is traced back to what we call an endocrine gland connection. The endocrine glands in the human body are several and located in many places throughout the body. For example, we have the thyroid gland. Now, thyroid, if it's underactive, can create fatigue, headaches, loss of sex drive, poor memory, and all kinds of other things. So if you're suffering from PMS, what we're telling you is that you really should be looking at a lot of your other areas, a lot of the other endocrine gland functions. So if you suspect that you may have an underactive thyroid, you should take our home thyroid test just to check it out. And you can find out how to do that on our other video, which talks about underactive thyroid. So if you're suspicious of that, you might want to check that video out as well. The next group of glands that we need to be considered as part of or potentially part of the PMS cycle are the adrenal glands. Now, when the adrenal glands become exhausted, they produce a whole variety of symptoms, many of which are very similar to the PMS classic symptoms, such as nervousness, anxiety, fatigue, mood swings, depression, and so forth. Now, why would the adrenal glands become exhausted? Well, their primary, although they're not their exclusive function, is to produce stress hormones. And when the adrenal glands produce excess amounts of stress hormones over prolonged periods of time, because we are constantly finding ourselves under excess amounts of stress, whether that stress be external from our environment or internal from our own state of mind, it really doesn't make any difference. Over time, the adrenal glands can become fatigued and exhausted. These hormones then can contribute to the PMS type symptoms. The primary hormone problems in ladies with PMS are very, very similar to those in women with menopause symptoms. And the primary common denominator between the two groups is what we call estrogen dominance. Now, in menopause, these women are frequently estrogen dominant 30 days out of the month, 365 days a year, as opposed to those younger women of childbearing age who suffer from PMS. During PMS, estrogen dominance appears to only be a problem during the last 10 days or so of the cycle. So in other words, the 10-12 days preceding menstruation is usually when the problem occurs. This coincides quite coincidentally with the period of time that most women experience these moderate to severe PMS type symptoms. Usually everything goes along well until they start to get about halfway through their 28-day cycle, maybe a little further than half, and then the moodiness, anxiety, mood swings, anger, puffiness all begin to come on with a vengeance. The body needs extra progesterone, which is another sex hormone, during this particular part of the cycle. And if you are estrogen dominant, and or if your body is unable to produce adequate amounts of progesterone, then these symptoms can accelerate, they can become extremely severe. The late John Lee, MD, who was one of the foremost authorities on the use of progesterone, primarily for women of the menopause, also frequently suggested, both in his lectures and in his writings, that progesterone cream applied topically might not be a bad idea for women who suffer from moderate to severe PMS symptoms. So, how can we support your body if you suffer from PMS symptoms? Well, one other gland that we need to consider, or organ rather, is the pancreas. During periods of PMS, many women experience what we call fluctuating blood sugar or temporary hypoglycemia. When the blood sugar falls too low, it further creates anxiety, nervousness, irritability, fatigue, and so on. You have to remember that all these glands and organs are somehow interrelated and connected. And it is the current belief that many women suffering from PMS have a combination of one or more of these issues going at the same time. So let us recap and review some of these potential problems and what you can do about them. First of all, support the glands that are involved. Take the thyroid test. If you have a problem with underactive thyroid, either see your physician for full thyroid testing and possibly medication, or if you're just borderline on the test, try our nutritional supplement that we use here at our institute. It's called Thyrox. If you're suffering from high amounts of stress, and you have high stress in your life, and your whole life feels like you got one nerve like a piano wire and everybody's jumping up and down on it, and you just want to scream, then you might want to use our formula called Stress-Ease, because Stress-Ease really helps a great deal. If you suffer from fluctuating blood sugar, or if you've been diagnosed with diabetes, or especially hypoglycemia or low blood sugar, and you also have symptoms of PMS, you might want to strongly consider using our nutritional support for the pancreas, which helps to regulate both blood sugar and insulin production. If you are estrogen dominant, and as I said before, the late John Lee, who was one of the foremost authorities, firmly believed that most women suffering from PMS were in fact estrogen dominant, you might want to consider the use of a natural progesterone cream. Now, we developed one here at our research center, and it's available on the retail market for you. It is distributed by a company called Phoenix Nutritionals in Southern California. And you can look them up at phoenixnutritionals with an S.com. The progesterone cream that we developed and they are producing for us is called Fem Factor, and it is very, very helpful. If you choose to use Fem Factor and try it in this matter, you must remember that it is very important to use it only the anticipated 10 days prior to menstruation. Once menstruation begins, you should stop using the cream until the next cycle rolls around again. If you have questions about this or would like more information, you can contact our research center at 1-888-454-8464. You can also email us with questions at askthedoc@healthyinformation.com. And of course, our website is www.healthyinformation.com. I'd like to thank you for listening today and hope that this information helps you to be able to get your life and your cycle and your moods back on track. I'm Dr. Whiting, and thanks for listening.